Hey guys, Rolando Rodriguez here with xgains.com. We've got workouts that work, eats to satisfy, and everything else you need to reach your lifestyle goals. A video today concerning a question I've been getting asked a lot over the last couple of weeks via email, and that's what eating approach should someone take or utilize when starting a diet. And diet in this term of the word is a caloric restriction where somebody's trying to lose weight. Well, if you guys don't already know, I've tried them all. I've done a shake for breakfast, shake for lunch, and a sensible dinner. I did the Atkins, Mediterranean, South Beach, no processed foods, and just reducing your caloric intake standard. I've done if it fits your macros, and in case if you don't know what if it fits your macros is, it's instead of saying, hey, I'm not going to eat any processed food, the case is you can eat whatever food and whatever types of food you want as long as you hit your macros. Your macros being the fat intake that you've established, your carb intake that you've established, and your protein intake that you've established for whichever caloric input that you have sort of set up for yourself. So as long as you're hitting your macros while you're eating, you can eat any type of food. And I've lost weight on all of them, and I've gained weight a little bit on all of them. Now, as you guys know, I've maintained my plus 80-pound weight loss for 5 years now, and I haven't regained the weight. So what did I do if I've tried all these different types of eating approaches to actually keep the weight off? And I think that the magic bullet is something I'll talk about in the next video, but if you guys follow this channel, you guys already know what I believe in and what I sort of try to stress other people to attempt if they can. So back to this video, which eating approach should you utilize when starting a diet? Well, right off the bat, let's discuss the standard American or just the standard diet protocol. When people are going to try to lose weight, most of them say, well, we're going to reduce your caloric intake. We all know that if you're eating really, really bad, all you have to do is sort of change the way you eat as opposed to changing your caloric intake to lose weight, but that's another video, another story for another time. So let's assume the truth, which most people are going to reduce their caloric intake. When people do that, they naturally reduce their fat intake because fat has 9 calories per gram. Protein and carbs has 4 calories, so about half the amount of calories per gram as fat. People typically maintain their protein intake the same, so then people also reduce their carb intake. Now, why do people reduce their carb intake if carbs only have 4 calories per gram? Well, the thing is we eat so many carbs, so much carbs, that if you reduce the amount of carbs that you are eating, you're going to reduce the calories that you're intaking. Now, if somebody were to follow that approach and reduce their caloric intake, also reduce their carbs and their fat intake, but drastically reduce their fat intake so much that they're eating a bunch more carbs than they are fats, what ends up happening? Our metabolism slows down. If we reduce our caloric intake via the regular standard diet protocol where you reduce fat much more than you reduce your carb intake, what's going to happen is our body's going to realize that we are on a diet and it's going to start to preserve its calories. You might sleep a little bit more, you might fidget a little bit less, you might not work out as hard, you might sit more often and not stand up and walk around the office as much as you used to. It's going to say, hey, this is what I need to do to preserve my energy because this idiot has reduced the amount of calories or energy that he is intaking. So we have to preserve whatever energy we do have. Now, on the flip side, if somebody were to reduce their caloric intake, but instead of drastically reducing their fat intake, actually eating more fat than they do carbs. So they're reducing their carb intake much greater, increasing their fat intake, i.e. following a low carb, high fat eating approach, the body does not slow down the metabolism as much, if at all. So right there and then, think about it. If following a low carb, high fat diet, your body's metabolism stays right where you were before you started the caloric deficiency, the answer's simple. It's a low-carb, high-fat eating approach is what I would suggest. And just to let you guys know, not only did it work for me, but it works for about 85% of my clients. When my clients call me up and we start a diet protocol that they want, they say, hey, this is what I like to eat, and this is the type of diet that I want to follow. We do it, and they almost always end up switching that diet protocol and end up going to a low-carb, high-fat diet, and that's the eating approach that helps them reach their goals. The thing is, does it work for everybody? No, but I really do think a low-carb, high-fat eating approach will work for 80% of Americans, if not more, in the world probably. There's 20 to 15% of Americans that can process carbs no problems. But there's a bunch of us, especially this goes out to you if you've attempted to do all the diets and haven't lost the weight. There's an issue. Our body's been processing carbs its entire life and it's just almost tired of it, and we need to hit the reset button. And guess what? The study that showed that if you follow a low carb, high fat eating approach, your body's metabolism is not going to drop as much or if at all, also showed that once the people that followed the low carb, high fat eating approach lost a substantial amount of weight or reached their goal or reached the goal for the study, and then they started to reintroduce carbs, what ended up happening? Their body could start to process the carbs. They didn't gain the weight back. So it is like resetting your body, hitting the reset button and saying, hey, we're going to take a break from processing carbs for a while. We're going to relax and recover from all this heavy lifting in terms of carb intake. And when we reintroduce carbs, our body will be able to process them much better. So in summary, which eating approach would I suggest when starting a diet or a caloric restriction regimen? By all means, a lower carb, higher fat eating approach. In the long run, I just think it's the best for your body. And what you're going to realize is if you do this approach, because you're going to have to eliminate some of the carbs that you're already intaking, when you start to reintroduce certain carbs, you're going to realize which ones make you feel like crap and which ones actually work as an energy boost, which is what carbs are meant to do anyways. So that's it for now. This is Rolando Rodriguez with xgains.com. Please let me know if you got any questions or comments down below. Please like, subscribe, and share to this channel if you haven't done so already. I greatly appreciate it. The website again is that's the symbol, not the word, gains.com. And I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Peace.